We do have right now several people joining us via Zoom, as well as we have a couple of folks here in the room. Again, my name is Dr. Bill Zimmerman. I am the Assistant Director for Employer Engagement with the Career and Professional Development Center here at IUP. And I'd like to welcome everybody to our professional panel series on sales. We have with us several panelists, but first off, I'd like to start off by thanking some of our sponsors. I'd like to thank Enterprise Holding for their continued support with everything that the Career and Professional Development Center does, as well as our sponsors for this particular professional panel series, Advanced Office Systems Incorporated and Absolutely American Incorporated. And again, we appreciate the support that those organizations give our students and our center. Again, I want to remind folks, just as we start here, just due to the number of panelists, try to keep your answers brief in the 20 to 30 second range, especially when we do quick sort of introductions for our panel presenters, because we do want to be able to get to questions, especially if there's questions from our students who are either on Zoom or here in the room. So with that, I'd like to start by having each of our panelists introduce themselves, and I'll go around as I can identify them in the Zoom here. And if they could just tell us a little bit about themselves and their organization, and then obviously we'll have time for further questions as we go. So why don't we start with, I'm going to start with my upper left, at least from me looking at the screen, to Matt Philippa.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Matt Filippi, and I'm a local sales manager for 5 television stations, 3 radio stations, and digital advertising in Erie, Pennsylvania. I have a degree in marketing with a focus in advertising and consumer behavior. I've held various sales positions in the advertising industry, as well as being a marketing director for a couple super regional malls. But I've been currently with my current employer, Lilly Broadcasting, for 22 years, 10 of which in sales management.
Sorry, Paul, I kind of can't read it. Rich.
Good morning, everybody. Rich Manco, IUP graduate and 25 years of medical device sales, currently with a company named Abiomed Incorporated, where we sell the world's smallest heart pump. And I'm responsible for sales, training, implementation, and post-management care for all of Western Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Rich. Bob.
Hi, Bob Heffelfinger. Apologize for the lighting. I'm in Lancaster. I double as a local politician in Pennsylvania, so I'm on an executive board and traveling. I'm with Advanced Office Systems. I'm one of the owners, executive vice president. I've been there since my graduation from college, so that's been 30 years. And we support technology needs to businesses in the region, locally in the region. Several of our clients are located in Indiana, obviously IUP's home. So I do hire locally and support local businesses in roughly a 22 county portion of central Western Pennsylvania.
Great. Gene.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Gene Farrow. I'm the director of sales for our digital solutions division here at Weidenhammer. We're a digital consulting firm that specializes in custom application development, web design, development, digital marketing, and digital commerce. I manage our outside and inside sales team across the country. At this point, we are now moving obviously to a remote hybrid model, and I manage a team of inside and outside sales reps.
Robin.
I am Robin Porter. I'm married, 3 children, and my middle daughter actually graduated from IUP in 2018. So I have that. I work for Combined Insurance. I've been in the industry for 32 years, 24, 25 in management roles with AIG, Transamerica, and now Combined Insurance as a agency manager. I live in the Johnstown area, and as an agency manager, Combined Insurance is a leading provider of business to business and business to consumer supplemental benefits. And we help employers attract and retain high quality talent by enhancing their benefit packages. The company was founded 100 years ago with W. Clement Stone, $100, and gigantic PMA, positive mental attitude. You hear that a lot in the, how your feet at the floor is how your day is going to go. And I also am very good friends and grew up with Scott Blasey from the Clerks, so I just thought I'd throw that in. That's an IUP kind of thing.
Okay. Natalie.
Hello, I'm Natalie Miller. I'm in Group Talent Acquisition Management with Enterprise Holdings, but you might know us as Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We specialize in entry-level careers in sales. And so what's cool about our umbrella is that you can get into a career in sales from a lot of different kind of standpoints, whether that be inside sales, outside sales, business to business, and it continues to grow as you develop in your career here. So I look forward to talking more about those careers here in a bit.
Thank you. And then Mike, I think you're our last panelist.
Okay, thank you. I am Mike Jennings. I'm the president of Absolutely American Incorporated. My background is I am not an IUP grad. I'm a Naval Academy graduate, and I was 9 years as a Navy officer before I got drawn into the industry that I am. Our company is the professional services business, and we sell to and provide candidates for some of the strongest companies who work in the automation, robotics, medical technology, and machine vision spaces. In particular, companies who have caught distinction for the quality of their engineering and leadership teams. So with that, I came into this in a business of recruiting, straight from military, 30 years old, had never written a resume, and they said we could teach you to do that, and that was 22 years ago. So here we are.
All right, sounds great. Thank you all for participating. Did I miss anybody, panelists? I think I'm good panel-wise. Okay, good. So we'll move forward now. I want to talk first a little bit about, because for some folks on the call and whatnot, they may not understand what sales is, what sales folks do. So if you could give us, just a little bit about what does the day-to-day look like? Obviously, if you're not yourself in sales, if you have an idea what the sales folks in your area kind of do on a day in, day out kind of basis. And again, we'll try to popcorn around as best I can. I'll try to moderate as best I can. We'll do probably one or two of my seated questions, then we'll maybe throw it over to the students to see if they have any questions, and we'll go from there. But let's start with sort of what does day-to-day look like? Whoever wants to, give me a signal or something if you're good to go. Bob, go.
Yeah, I'm still, even with the title, I often joke that the title doesn't represent what I really do. And so not only do I hire sales folks and train them, but I'm still actively selling. So I'm a bit old school. I'm trying my best to get more in tune with selling via technology, but I'm still an old school door knocker, phone caller, prospector. And I know that often, and maybe I'll chase everyone away very quickly. I know that that's something that maybe folks that hire sales teams don't really want to talk about that, but the reality is the reality. And prospecting is absolutely a key part of your day. Yes, you'll get the client books and everything that everyone wants to tell you about, but the reality of it is, I would think even more so now than ever, zero-based account building is a necessary skill. And I am struggling to find candidates and train them up to that. The sheer importance should not be smoked over, so to speak, by any of us on this call. But I would say that prospecting and managing accounts is the key. And that obviously relates to customer satisfaction and retention and repeat customer base, et cetera. And all of us have our own unique profession and product here, but that's my opinion on day to day customer satisfaction and prospecting, and they're both related and earn the same results.
Robin, you had you were kind of next, and then Gene, I'll come to you.
I had what, sir?
You were also kind of giving.
Oh,
like,
okay.
hey,
I mean, a day in the life of an insurance agent doesn't look the same every day. Let me just say that. You do the same skills. You're trying to satisfy a customer, find a prospect, make connections, and solve problems. So the day changes based on the personalities you deal with in any sales environment. But you're making phone calls, you're looking for resources, you're filled, developing relationships. And I would say the key to any sales environment is learning that the key component of your day is the relationships that you build are the most important, and how you forge forward in those, and what kind of problem solving opportunities you can evolve. So phone calling, going out, blah, 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 all the same.
Gene, you were going to add, and then Mike, I'm sorry, Matt, I'll come to you. I apologize. The words are tiny.
Yeah, so our sales reps inside and outside are at various levels of where they are with their book of business in our environment. So you could have a sales rep who just started with the organization, who has a small book of business. So they're out in the market trying to uncover as much business as they can, build their book, meet and talk to everybody as possible. And meet is a different word now with COVID, obviously. So whether that's virtual or on site, depending on the appropriateness. You might have a senior level sales rep that has a well-established book of business that they're basically managing on a day-to-day basis and trying to continue to feed their pipeline and work through what they have. And then you have somebody who might be completely new to the organization, who doesn't have any book of business, who is in full-blown prospecting mode. Prospecting to us, typically we preach a fully integrated approach to meeting with and talking to new customers, which includes email, phone call, social media, marketing campaigns, whatever it is that, whatever touch points we can create to show the value in working with our organization.
Cool. Matt, I think you were going to add, and then I'm going to move on to the next question, I think, at this point.
Yeah, what I love about the broadcast industry that I work in is that it's constantly changing. So it's never boring. It's always something new to talk about.
But Matt, can I get you to speak up or come closer to your microphone? We're having a little problem here again.
Okay, is that a little better?
Little better. I'll see what I can do on my end.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm not sure. That is, let me see if does that sound any better?
It's not necessarily any worse, but it's not great.
Okay.
A little better now.
A little better? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, what I love most about our industry is that it's constantly changing. It's never boring. We always have something new to talk about with our clients, whether it's Olympics, Super Bowl, or whether sponsorship or digital advertising. But it really does come down to what everybody else has been saying, and that's meeting with all different kinds of people, developing relationships with those people, obviously developing a trust level with them. And you could be talking to all sorts of different people, whether it's people from marketing agencies or local business owners, which are some of my favorites, to help them grow. We're really not selling advertising. We're selling their products and services. And that's what I talk to our reps about all the time. That we just go out there, we make new friends, we sell their product. We're not really selling our products.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. I want to go to kind of the flip side of that question, if you will, and I want to hear from some of our other panelists who maybe haven't spoken yet. What are some of the biggest misconceptions about sales?
I can get us kicked off there, or go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead, Mike, and then we'll go to Natalie.
I think mostly the biggest misconceptions about sales comes from that success in sales requires somebody to be pushy, and in particular to push something it is that people don't want. And what that happens is it's a conflation of two separate processes. One of them is the transaction itself, and the other one is the outreach. All sales, one of the things that makes sales a significantly different enterprise than other things that you do is that sales requires people to step out of their comfort zone every day and initiate and continue relationships with people for a business purpose. That doesn't mean that because we're contacting somebody and creating relationships that we're shoving things down their throat. The purpose for the relationship ultimately comes down to trying to find mutual satisfaction of need. Which is not so different than the process it is that your graduates here are going to be going through in terms of going out into the job market. Going out and finding a job itself is a sales process in itself, and ultimately the process of finding and accepting a job is a process that after it is that you're making contact with people, that you're finding a way to mutually fulfill their need and your need at the same time. So most people don't understand the problem solving and the mutual benefits from why it is that we go out and do what we do every day.
Natalie.
Great statement, Mike. I agree with you there. So I think that so many times a misconception about sales is that it directly relates back to a product, right? So many things though, as you dig into a career, have so many aspects of sales to them, and they've got aspects of having to be persuasive and building relationships. And so if you're sitting in a classroom here today and you're interested in hearing more about a career in sales, you need to think to yourself, what do you like to do on a day-to-day? Do you like to track goals? Do you like to set targets for yourself? Do you want to be in a position that is progressing forward and developing towards whether that be sales goals or that be promotions long term? If those are things that speak out to you, then looking into a career in sales might be something that catches your attention. I think so many times we think of sales as what the product is itself, but you can see from the wide variety of folks we've got on the call here today, everybody's got a different product, but ultimately at the root of it, what they're out there to do is solve a business solution for somebody. And so I task students a lot of times to think outside of the company or the box that you see initially into what they do big picture. I know that I got into a career in sales because I wanted to make money and do it fast. Somebody told me I should check this out. Here I am 8 years later talking to other folks about that. I think you've got to identify those kind of characteristics that you're looking for in a career, and then ultimately see how those things tie back to sales. And I think you'd be surprised with the volume of things that you find actually tie back to this industry.
Thanks, Natalie. Gene, before I come to you, Rich, because you sell something completely different from most of our panelists, and you're in a different type of sales. Talk a little bit about your experience, and also if there's any misconceptions, particularly with the medical sales.
Right. So I think one of the differences between what I do and what other folks on the call are doing is their target audience could be, it's much broader. They could go after a lot more people and target. My position is I'm given 20 accounts within Western Pennsylvania, and it's a set amount where A, I have to have the product on the shelf, B, convince the physician that it's something that would benefit a patient's outcome, and then C, work that process that way. We have clinicals that work with us that do implants and things of that nature, and make sure that we manage the patient afterwards or assist in that process. But I deal with multiple layers when it comes to who's making the decision. You have not only the physician, but you also have the hospital administration, and you also have the staff that you work with. If a staff isn't comfortable with my device and doing an implant, the physician's not going to use it, and it's not going to benefit the patient. So it's a little bit different than the rest of the folks here.
Thank you. And then Gene, I'm going to come to you, and then I want to open it up to see if there's any questions either from the chat or from the room.
Yeah, I think the overall, just general misconception of sales is, regardless of whatever it is, whatever the product or service is that you sell, the misconception is that it's an easy job and that salespeople spend the day on the golf course, schmoozing clients. They think of, Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio, and hard selling to people on the phone, and that's just not necessarily what the larger percentage of salespeople are doing. Our salespeople are trained to become a value add to the person they're speaking to, and to be a digital consultant, and to help the organization with a potential challenge that they might have in their business. We are very quick to tell you that we can help you. I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do to help you. We're not trying to force things down your throat just for the sake of a sale. We have clients that span decades, and you don't get that type of relationship by force feeding somebody a particular product. So we come at it as a consultant to their business in the hopes of building a long-term relationship.
If I could add just one little thing though, that I think would be really important to say at this juncture is, one thing we're all we're like people that perceive that introverts, that only extroverts, people that are bouncing off the walls, they're going to be great at sales. The best people I've ever met, they're great listeners, and they understand that their objective is to find the problem and do I have your solution? So I want to make sure that people that don't have the kind of personalities, I'm a cheerleader, that's not required. It's good listening, caring about people, and being a great problem solver. And I just wanted to add that real briefly. I'll quit.
Okay, thank you, Rob. That is a good point to know that, that is another, I think, at least from my opinion, a misconception thing where it's like, to be a salesperson, you've got to be out there, you've got to be like, rah, for lack of a better term. And, that's some good advice there. Tammy, I'm going to ask you to kind of take a look in the chat to see if there's any questions. But at this point, if any of our students who are either on the call, if you have questions, if you either want to type it in the chat, or if you want to either unmute yourself or bring up your camera and ask your question. Oh, we've got one coming in from.
So one question is from our student, Mr. Deng, Miss Deng. I don't know how to say your first name, so forgive me. Yuxin. What was the biggest difficulty or obstacle for you when you entered sales? Thank you.
Thank you. So our panelists, your biggest obstacle.
I had to get an insurance license. So I had to study and get an insurance license. That was a barrier. That was a professional requirement. I'll just say that was probably my biggest obstacle. Could I succeed? 32 years ago, I've been here ever since.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest obstacle was, my first sales role. I was selling technology. I was coming from outside of the industry. I didn't understand technology at the time the way a top salesperson at that organization needed to. So my first foot in the door was a lot of training around the different things that I needed to be an expert at. And I did a lot. I read a lot, watched a lot, and listened a lot, and then, inevitably was able to pick everything up.
Mike.
My biggest challenge when I got into it was understanding how decisions were made, and who it is gets to make the call, and how it is that you had to work that. In some cases, it was a single person, and I would follow up with a single person and get to a decision. In other cases, I'd follow up with a single person or a couple of people, only to find out that I didn't really have the buyer qualified properly or understand the process. And certainly the kind of sales that I'm in is very broad. So you deal with companies from very large to very small inside of that. So understanding that process to how to get to the goal was tricky. How I overcame it was doing it enough times that you started to learn what questions to ask. But I certainly did waste a lot of time and confound myself a number of times in my first year of doing this.
You learned what didn't work.
Oh, sorry.
You learned what didn't work at those times.
Certainly did.
Natalie.
And that's what I was going to say here is that a lot of times you're going to find out what doesn't work for you before you find out the golden key to what does. And so you got to be able to continue through those scenarios to persevere to figure out what the solution in that scenario is. And that one might not be the same as the next one, but you've got to have the mindset and the capability to pick yourself up from the situations that might not be a win immediately to take yourself into the next one as well.
Not all sales positions are 100% commission, but I think one thing that scares a lot of new applicants away was when they hear 100% commission, it scares the heck out of them. A reputable company, though, if they're offering 100% commission, they're not going to just throw you out in the street to starve. They usually have a book of business that comes with that. So I just wanted to express that if you hear that, not to be so afraid of it. It does take some people, some time to get used to that concept. But a professor I had in college said he would never take a job unless it was 100% commission. And the reason why is that because it gives you unlimited earning potential. The harder you work, the more you're going to make, and it is a good environment to be in. So if you do hear that, don't shy away from it. Make sure you understand what's all being presented to you. And like I said, a reputable company is going to give you a book of business to work with. I'm not going to put you out in the streets.
Bill, one more quick point I'd like to add. In the beginning, when I first started that role, I sought out the top salesperson in the organization, said I needed to spend some time with them, sat down with them for a while over my first couple of weeks, just to understand from his perspective why he thought he was successful and what he needed to do to become successful in that industry and in that organization. And some of the things that we talked about that day, I still use over the course of my career, and I still use today in my current role.
Excellent. Are there any other questions either from the room or from the chat? We'll give it a couple, maybe a minute or so, a little less here.
Oh, this may be one of your questions. Oh, here's a question coming from Kylie Osborne. How much sales experience is required to be applying for a full-time sales job?
Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I think a lot of your life skills that you've earned through your college experience, prior to your college experience, I certainly applied a lot of the different class structures that I had to the success of my career. But I think it really, it comes down to your passion. And I think sales is all about passion. And so when you enter into the sales profession, not dependent on the product or service, but really your passion, your willingness to learn. I think Gene's comment about going to that top person on the team, that probably brought him a world of experience that, as he said, he still carries today in his career. And I agree with that. So as far as the experience goes, look, you're going to interview potentially in the pharmaceutical industry where they want a 4.85. Is there such thing as a 6.0? And they're not usually passionate about your ability, quite frankly, to be a top level salesperson. And so as far as your experience goes, I think a lot of that is developed through your processes, and certainly you bring a lot to the table with your life experiences.
Well, okay, I got a whole bunch of hands there. I know I saw. I didn't know if Mike wanted to go next, but we'll go Mike, Robin, and Gene.
Okay. So ultimately, the answer to this question depends upon the sophistication of the sale that you're looking at, and whether it's what was referred to as hunter or farmer sales. So you are not going to come right out of college and take Rich Manco's job. No way. That is the top of the food chain in medical sales industry. Until you've proven that you can handle things otherwise, you're not going to move to that level. If you are interested in what's the hunter side of the sales, most companies will train you right out of school to do the hunter sale position, which is a lot more in the area of initiating relationships. And then from there, that's where it is that a lot of young people cut their teeth in that type of a sales environment, and then from there they'll move into something that is the farmer sale, and the farmer sale is basically what deals with more of the defined territory. So on the extreme end there, Rich said he literally has 20 clients because he can only do his sale to someone who is a cardiac surgeon. That is a very limited quantity of people in Western Pennsylvania. As opposed to my business, we sell to the continental United States. So that opens up a massive amount of territory in terms of where it is that you can go. But typically, the more that you get into account management, usually the more sophistication and experience they want, and the less that you have in terms of sales development training, and more into your product and environmental training from the company you work for.
Robin, I know we said we were going to come to you next, and then we're going to end up on Gene.
Well, much like he said, a lot of organizations kind of like the people that come in to some degree, especially I'm in the hunter, be in the insurance sales and things like that. So we like it when you come in with no experience, because we don't like to have to clean up your habits, from maybe the bad things you brought on board from something that someone else didn't bother correcting. So we're not afraid of I like to call them neophytes. People with no experience to me are like, they're little molds that I can take and help them evolve and adapt. So in my industry, I've trained, 32 years, many people, some are still in this industry, some have gone on to, like he mentioned, pharmaceutical sales and things like that, because we are an industry that are where you can cut your teeth and learn the sales trade, in a moral, ethical, responsible manner, and then move on to the other education components, whether you move up the ladder into owning your own insurance agency and you move into your P&C world and your life and health and all the finger tanglements, because the insurance industry, there's the actuarial department, there's underwriting, there's claims, there's just so many broad tentacles to it. And even starting as a sales agent can exponentially improve your opportunities of being in any of those spheres, as well as any of those people sitting on this panel with me, their career opportunities, as your education, your talent, and your proficiency becomes evident to them that you're someone that they want to consider for their industry.
And then I'm going to ask if there's other questions.
Yeah, I think Mike and Robin answered this question perfectly, specifically Mike talking about the difference between a hunter and a farmer. Industries and different types of organizations are going to hire at all levels of salespeople. And right now there's a need for salespeople in a lot of different industries. So it's even widened further. I'll just give an example here at Weidenhammer. We created a very clear progression path for someone who comes out of school, who wants to get into sales, they want to get in sales, but has no experience in doing so. My most recent example, we hired somebody in that particular role. That person was eventually promoted into what we call a business development role, and eventually promoted to be an account executive. It was a successful career progression path for a young gentleman who came out of the Coast Guard, had no experience in what we were selling, and wanted to get into it. So it really does truly depend on what the organization and in the industry you're looking to get into, but there is always going to be an opportunity for you to start your career in sales somewhere, depending on your interest as far as industry.
Other questions from the chat or in the room?
I've got just 2 cents on that here. So you guys all gave fantastic information about experience to get into the sales industry. I'd task a lot of the students here on the call today, think about some of the common things that might be on your existing resumes as you're working towards getting some of this experience needed to jump into the industry. How can you think about maybe it's a serving job that you've held, or it's a waitressing job, or it's a organization that you're a part of, or you're affiliated with a Greek club on campus. You've had to recruit, or you've had to be persuasive in a lot of those different scenarios. We can talk to 2 different people who both were waitresses, right? But somebody who spins that past experiences and talks about the times in their interview that they've had to be persuasive, they've had to show people, they worked for tips and things of that nature. Those 2 different things can spin different ways as you're starting to get into these industries as well. So it might be common things that you've already got experience in too.
And if I could just make one quick comment too, to wrap that up is some of the people on this call may very well be surprised to learn that one of the transition careers for people coming into sales is actually school teachers. You may be surprised to learn that school teachers make some of the best salespeople and come into our industry all the time.
Okay. Going to open it up again if there's anybody who has questions in the chat. If not, I know Tammy, you said you had one that you were kind of holding.
I just wasn't sure if you had it on your list, so I thought I would throw it out there, and it might be a great way to close out the panel, since I know by the time we get around to everybody, it will probably be close to time. And that is, could you give a piece of advice or a couple of pieces of advice to our students? I know you've given some, but about how they might break into the industry, or how they might find their success in this industry, or both.
I had a very similar seed question, so it was definitely part of the list.
I'd like to jump with that if I could, Bill. For people that want to get into, say, it's pharmaceutical or medical device sales, I get asked that question a lot by students and what they need to do. Basically, you need, and companies are looking for Fortune 500 type training, people that have been taught how to sell, people that have had to go and be the hunter and be told no somewhere between 50 and 100 times a day, and get back up the next morning and go after it again and try to achieve their goals and build their skill sets to a point where they're actually selling and enjoying it. The second thing is, we haven't touched upon it, but in any type of sales, you are different. And what makes it different is you live by a number. You're given a quota. And that's what you think about. That's what you strive for. And that's what you have to plan your days around to achieve those goals. So my personal opinion is, if it's something that you're passionate about, and that's a word that keeps coming up, find that and be able to go after it with full vengeance. Just do the very best you can, and seek guidance from those that can provide pearls of wisdom to help you succeed, and surround yourself with mentors that can help you. So I hope that helps you folks.
Thank you, Rich. Robin.
I would say, go into a sales career with an entrepreneurial spirit. Even if you work as a W-2 employee, it's your business. You want to be paid what you're worth, then make your time worthwhile. You can't be paid with what you're worth. And if you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to believe in you either. So all sales careers have that component of it, requiring self-discipline, high setting of standards. And don't worry, if somebody sets a standard for you, if you only push to that standard, you'll never exceed anyone's expectations. You have to look at things that way. And I always say the sales environment's very flexible. But if you take too much advantage of that flexibility, you'll flex yourself right out of the industry, because that flexibility is designed for career, like people that know how to close, open, find, and consistently do that. There is Well, there is a little bit of golfing out on the golf course with some of our people, but those people that can do that, they have to take care of their career. No one's going to take care of it for you. And if you're not getting trained, don't blame your boss. Go find the training. If you're not getting the things you need, you have to take ownership of your responsibilities and your results. So every day, hit that floor knowing that if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And put your big boy pants on and get busy making sure that your dreams are your dreams and you get the results that you determine for yourself, not what someone else gives you.
Yeah. And if,
Yeah, good points.
if you enjoy people, a sales career is probably, for you. If you're self-motivated, you want to get out there, you want to meet new people, you want to help them. If you're a problem solver, like Robin mentioned before, sales career is probably for you. I mean, that's what we do every day is we find what is bothering that business person, what is keeping them up at night, and we're solving those problems. And you have to have a certain level of, as a new salesperson, a certain level of patience for your own growth, and not expect things to just come to you quickly and that you're just going to explode right off the bat. I mean, you can't be in the job thinking, what can I be doing next? You and trying to see what's greener on the other side, as opposed to just working at the job itself, looking at the people that you're around. Because like on my team, I have over 10 salespeople, and they've been with the company for most of them over 10 years. So there's a reason why they stick around and why they do well. And just, take that time, be patient with yourself and learn the job, invest time in yourself in the training, like Robin said, seek out things that can make yourself better. We have a number of sources for that. And matter of fact, a lot of that information is open to the public on like tvb.org or rab.com. Those are national organizations, but on their website, there's public information on there about the industry. So if you want to learn about careers in broadcast or and that sort of thing, you can get that information from those websites. And they definitely have training once you're involved with it.
Pat, can you do us a favor and put those two links in the chat, please?
Yep.
So that way folks would have them just in case there's a spelling issue or we misheard you. Okay. Other folks on the question at hand about advice for someone who's starting out.
I guess I'll go. Yeah. The first question is always, why are you going to do what you're going to do? Right. I am a Naval Academy graduate with an engineering and master's work in applied math. If you would have told me when I started into all of that my career was going to go to selling people on the telephone, I would have thought you were nuts. But what ended up happening in all of that is I had a Natalie experience there is that coming out of the military, I had decided that I wanted to make a lot of money fast. I didn't want to be capped in what I could do, and I wanted control of my life. And starting with that part of it, then it sort of comes down to a decision criteria of what environment gives you the ability to do all of that. And that's where sales and entrepreneurship landed for me. And now I have done and continue to do both of those things on a daily basis. In terms of getting good at it, what makes the best difference in sales is being able to read people and listen to what they're saying, process it, and come back to it. And two of the best books, well, the three best books I've ever read on selling are a very basic one, and How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Bettger. It was written in the 1940s. He was an insurance salesman. The second two have come out recently. One of those is called The Challenger Sale. And as a understanding how it is that a salesperson has to challenge people's status quo and their line of thinking as an influence tool. And the other book is called What Great Salespeople Do. And that book emphasizes the ability to tell a story. there as and using a story as an example to basically illustrate a point, and that the human mind is given towards being very open to accepting stories, and that has been, those two books basically highlight the two things that separate the great salespeople from the rest of the world.
Thank you. Other folks, I know some people may have stolen your thunder.
I think we've hit some great topics here today. So I feel like I've shared some good best practices and hopefully given everybody here on the call some good information and said nuggets to take back into your job search with.
Cool. All right. Well, given the time, and I want to make sure that we don't hold the students up if they need to get off the call and get to class, or again, our folks here who are in person. Again, you're very welcome, Yushin, on having this. Again, this will be out there available on YouTube at our CPDC channel. We'll make sure we send out that information there. And wow, did that really mess it up there with the live transcription when I said CPDC. Still didn't get it right, but okay. But again, I want to thank our panelists for taking the time out of their day to come and share their insights and their experience of sales careers. Again, I want to thank our sponsors, Advanced Office Systems Incorporated, Absolutely American Incorporated, as well as Enterprise, who's been our continued partner and sponsor with our office. For the students who are online, and even for some of our professionals, we do have our spring career fair coming up next.
Hey, Bill, I think you've missed that Combined also contributed to your lunch.
I apologize, Robin. I am so sorry about that.
It's okay. They would want that plug in there.
So, yes, I apologize about that profusely, Robin. Combined Insurance did also contribute to the lunch as well. So we want to make sure, again, that is my error, and I freely admit that.
It's fine. I just wanted to make sure they made the contribution that they, the students knew that Combined had. We wanted to feed them. One last word, tell them, maintain your ethics throughout your career. Maintain your ethics. That's the most important thing. Maintain your ethics, no matter what anybody tells you. Please listen to that.
All right. Thank you very much, Robin. But again, getting back to where I was before that omission, we are having our spring career fair next Wednesday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the KCAC here on campus. It will be in person. I know some of you are already attending that. If you're not, there is still time to sign up. We have our information available on Handshake, or you can feel free to contact me afterwards, but we do still have spots open for the students. You're welcome to go onto Handshake and pre-register and check out the numerous, we have about 85, 86, pushing to 90 at this point, different organizations who are going to be at that fair and offering a variety of experiences. So yeah, please stop by. We also have some other things going on there as well. We're doing professional headshots. We can help you with an elevator pitch. So we definitely have a lot going on that Wednesday. So please join us. Other than that, I'd like to thank everybody for their time today and enjoy your Tuesday. I know there's some flurries flying around outside, but hopefully nothing sticking. I don't know how the weather is outside of your respective doors. But other than that, again, folks, have a great day and thank you for joining us.